very much. It's lovely to be back, and great to see our friends, Vern and Annie, here tonight. We were a bit worried because we arrived in Ludlow just as the rainy season started.
Yeah, there were 12 drops.
But after the 12 drops, it stopped. So. Is there any good news in the news today? A story to make me smile. Lord knows it's been a while. Something wrong, but right, a villain turned good. A 21st century Robin Hood. But there's precious little good news in the news today. Wanted in connection with the latest atrocity. A mind full of pain, a heart made of stone, eyes that can chill you right to the bone. I guess it's just gonna be another bad news day. Another rogue politician bending and breaking the rules. A nation left floundering, steered by a ship of fools. Who find money for this and money for that, but they never put a penny in the poor man's hand. I guess it's just gonna be another bad news day. Is there any good news in the news today? A story to make me smile. Lord knows it's been a while. Something wrong, couldn't right. The villain turned good. The 21st century Robin Hood. But there's precious little good news in the news today. Another finger on a trigger of a child left in harm's way. Another cancer for the slave masters of our modern day. And illegal passage to this land of the free, but it's a long, hard road for the refugee. I guess it's just gonna be another bad news day. Is there any good news in the news today? A story to make me smile. Lord knows it's been a while. Something wrong, good right, a villain turned good. 21st century Robin Hood. A miracle cure, the sign of a dove, a voice singing, all you need is love. But there's precious little good news in the news today. Ah, there's precious little good news in the news today. Thank you. Julie looked worried there when I stopped singing in that last bit. It's terrible when you're on stage and you want to swallow. Isn't it? That's a song Julie wrote for Donald Trump called Precious Little Good News in the News Today.
It was inspired by the front page of the Derby Evening Telegraph.
It was. Our local paper delights in putting all the bad news on the front. We'll do something a bit lighter. Some time ago I challenged Julie to write a song with the word metaphysics in it, because she's, as many of you know, seems to be able to write songs about almost anything. And she came up with this song, and it's the story of
how two famous poets met very briefly just once in their lives on Hampstead Heath and walked together for a short time, talking about the things that inspired their poetry. And John Keats was one of them, and Samuel Taylor Coleridge was the other. And at the time, Keats had not got long to live. He died quite young. And this is what Julie came up with, including the word metaphysics.
That's a tip, can remember it all.
It's called serendipity.
Serendipity, two poets of a kind, chance speaking of like minds, they walked a while together, stepped out a mile or two, o'er wild and wooded heath. Keats and Coleridge, brief encounter so sublime. Barely a grain of sand slipped through the hourglass. In that short time they passed in famous conversation, one pale and fragile youth, the other in his pride, sharing the common themes, the romance in their rhyme. Once upon a Regency's green, here they spoke of 1,000 things, metaphysics, nightmares, the shape of dreams, and how many sweet nightingales sang. Labrador, summer sea, and his finest odes, from Keats' pen soon flowed all by, this talk inspired, yet somehow Coleridge knew he'd not linger long, sensed death there in the hand he pressed that fateful day. Once upon a Regency's spring, here they spoke of 1,000 things, metaphysics, nightmares, the shape of dreams, and how many sweet nightingales sang. If the ghostly paths crossed now on Hampstead Heath, they'd find bright parakeets beyond wild imagination, whilst the sweet nightingales, long absent from this place, chase immortality and settle where they may. Once upon a Regency's grave, here they spoke of 1,000 things, metaphysics, nightmares, the shape of dreams, and how many sweet nightingales sang. Metaphysics, nightmares, the shape of dreams, and how many sweet nightingales sang.
Can you drop the guitar in the monitor a bit? It's deafening me. Thanks. Well, I only wanted her to put metaphysics in once, but I got quite a few, so I can't complain, can I? What have we got? Somebody was asking me about the bee painted on my guitar, and so we decided we'd do this song, and it came about from a visit to the folk sessions in Sheffield, which take place every Easter time. And for 3 or 4, there might even be 4 days, over the Easter weekend, the city centre pubs are packed with folkies, musicians and singers, and everybody has a great time. And a couple of years ago we were there, and we were in a pub called the Kelham Island Tavern, which strangely enough sells beer from a brewery called the Blue Bee Brewery.
Try saying that when you've had a few of them.
Yeah. Anyway, we were in a very crowded room, and it was a very warm day, much like today, in spite of the fact that it was Easter. It was Saturday night, and all the windows and doors were wide open. And Chris Wilson was leading a sing around, and everybody was singing along, raising the rafters. And suddenly, a bee flew in through the window. Must have been one of the first of the year. And it circled round the room while everybody was singing. And of course, everybody got their mouths wide open, so they were all looking very nervous as it came past them. But it went round a few times and then, strangely, plummeted into somebody's pint of beer. And there was a moment of shocked silence, and then a guy ran from the back of the room and grabbed this pint of beer and dashed out into the garden with it, and carefully decanted it on the flower beds. And 20 minutes later, when the bee had sobered up, it flew off. And we knew the chap that rescued it. He's a sound engineer, does a lot of work at festivals and so on up in Derbyshire and the area. And his name's Jim Rowley. And there's no way he was going to get away with that without Julie writing a song about him. So hence the bee. It's called Bumble Away, or Jim Rowley's Bee. Well, you could tell he got a buzz from the music, that unaccompanied folk was his thing. He'd risen early from his winter slumber, especially to hear Chris Wilson sing. Arriving at the Kelham Island Tavern, the early evening session in full swing, he made his entrance in a coat of velvet, thinking he'd help to make those rafters ring. He loved the songs about the pretty flowers, the banks of primroses and the thyme and the rue, and he knew they served beer from the Blue Bee Brewery, though he'd never seen a bee dressed in blue. He was enamored with those old child ballads, and all the voices with their sweet honeyed tones. They were most definitely his kind of people, sure to appreciate his natural drone. The air was balmy and the room was crowded, and all the humming left him parched and dry. He made a beeline for that amber nectar, longing to give the Blue Bee ale a try. He loved the songs about the pretty flowers, the banks of primroses and the thyme and the rue, and he knew they served beer from the Blue Bee Brewery, though he'd never seen a bee dressed in blue. Soon he was out of his depth, he'd never learned to swim, how he wished he'd never taken that dive. Now he was floundering like a drunken sailor, might never get out of that glass of wine. Well, if it hadn't have been for Jim Rowley, he'd have surely been a bee no more. He swiftly sacrificed that pint to save him, carried him gently through the garden door, fixed him up with a restorative blossom, and stuck around until he felt okay. His success to the folk bee revival, as he lifted off and bumbled away. He loved the songs about the pretty flowers, the banks of primroses and the thyme and the rue, and he knew they served beer from the Blue Bee Brewery, though he'd never seen a bee dressed in blue. He'd never fun there, and we'll be seeing Jim Rolly at Moira Furness Folk Festival, so hopefully we'll remind him of that occasion and buy him a beer. We're going to live dangerously now and try a brand new song on you, and because we know we're amongst friends, and Jimmy was pointing out to me when we came that this is our 11th visit to Brimfield, apparently. 9 times it was closed, but not too long ago, early in June in fact, we were in Shrewsbury, and it was a very cold and windy day, which is hard to remember because we've had so much hot weather. But we crossed the English Bridge and it was blowing a gale, and we walked up into the city and had a wander around, and finally found ourselves in a pub called the Three Fishers, and it's right opposite St Auckland's Church with its beautiful spire, and it's a very old-fashioned pub. It's hundreds of years old, and we were sitting in a dark corner at the back of the bar. The landlady was cleaning some glasses, and the landlord was leaning on the end of the bar close to us, and we were chatting about what a beautiful building it was and how it's the sort of place that you could expect to be haunted. And the landlord overheard us and told us this story. And apparently one of the regulars in the pub was a steeplejack called George Archer. And he was the man who put the weather vane on top of St Auckland's Church spire. But one evening he was in the pub with his pals, and they bet him 8 pints of ale that he couldn't climb up there and then and fetch the weather vane down. And of course he rose to the challenge and shinned his way up the spire, and even did a bit of a dance for them at the top. And came back down to claim his reward, and he got his 8 pints of beer and he drank them. But then he realised he'd got to take the weather vane back to the top of the spire. So the story doesn't end well. And no sooner had we got home than Julie started working on this song. So we'll try it for you. Hope you like it. It's called The Steeplejack's Wager.
It was chilly for the time of year, a gusty, blustery, showery day in the month of June. We sought solace in a cup of cheer, in the quiet corner of a quaint little tavern mid-afternoon, in the heart of Shrewsbury town, where restless spirits roam, the kind of place lost souls might choose to make their presence known as they go home to. My idle musings caught the landlord's ear. He said he's sitting right where he accepted the dare that would seal his fate. Poor George Archer, of heights he had no fear. The effect of the beer was the thing he failed to contemplate. Atop St Auckland's towering spire, he'd fixed a weather vane, but for 8 pints of mead agreed to fetch it down again, his prowess flaunting. And the wager, it was easily won. From up on high he amused the crowd with a jig and a drum. when he made short work of his garland of ale, quite unconcerned that the steeple he must once more scale might prove more daunting. Now well married, he commenced that climb to replace the cock all the way to the top, yet again ascend his gait unsteady for the very last time. Clomid claws and be back, but the steeple jack met a scoria. He reached those daring, dizzying heights, his sense of balance gone, secured the vein and stumbled out into oblivion. Now he goes a-haunting. By the light of the moon on a warm summer night, he climbs there still when the time is right. As you leave the three fishes, you just might see him go a-haunting.
Thank you very much. Yeah, spooky tale. We ought to do a song from Derby, as we come from there. And last year, Julie spotted in the corner of our local a poster, and it was for a performance at Derby Grand Theatre way back. Or was it the Hippodrome, this one?
This was the Grand in...
It was the Grand, yeah. So it was 1924, and it was a performance of Dracula. And apparently the very first stage performance of Dracula in the UK took place in Derby in 1924. And by coincidence, the final performance featuring Bela Lugosi also took place in Derby at the Hippodrome in 1953. So the town's got a bit of a claim to a connection with him. And of course, Bela Lugosi made the film role his own. So Derby's been celebrating that connection with an exhibition at the museum, Pickford's House. And Julie and I went along after she wrote this song and recorded it in front of Christopher Lee's Cape. Which was one of the exhibits. It was quite spooky. So we'll take you back to Dracula. When Bela Lugosi came to Derby in '53, he'd been performing the role for many years, and he was exhausted, and he decided he was going to retire, which was why it was the last performance. So this is called A Vampire's Kiss.
Terrible, isn't it, when you forget the words of your own songs?
Do you want to do something else?
Yeah, do the other one and then we'll get that one.
Which one?
Yeah, it can be. It might come in a minute.
If it won't. Do go away, your dad.
No. Oh, yeah, okay.
I can't believe she's gone blank.
I've gone blank.
And I only know my bits.
Oh, it is better. I've got it
Have
now.
you got
Yes,
it?
I'll
Oh.
go back to it now. Okay.
It's Bela Lugosi getting that.
Yeah.
1, 2, 3, 4.
His widow had given her blessing
Bram's novel had been all the rage. Now Hamilton Dean's adaptation would take to the stage. A theatre reputedly haunted, where better for the world premiere, thrill followed thrill and blood-curdling screams filled the air. Derby was all of a tremble, theatre goers assembled at the Grand to witness firsthand Dracula's suave and debonair in a suit and cape and sleek black hair. Watch if you dare, but remember this: you should always steer well clear of a vampire's kiss. Dean himself excelled as Van Helsing. Edmund Burke took the title role, sinister and scary with his front tooth, Captain Gold. Florence Stoker attended the opening of the wildly successful tour. West End to Broadway, then Hollywood clamored for more. Featuring Bela Lugosi, oh what a count he made, seductively languid, magnificently betrayed. A true master of the macabre, this role would define his career. Nobody did it quite like Bela. He could make you feel the fear. 27 years on from the premiere, Bella sailed for England's shores. No one would guess this would be his final tour. All smiles for the fans and the cameras, willing interviews, autograph sign. No one could see the turmoil in his mind. Derby was all of a tremble. Theatre goers assembled at the Hippodrome. Dracula was home, but melancholy laced with morphine had steadily taken its toll. The town that took pride at the Count's first back saw Bella go time on the road. Dracula, suave and debonair, in a suit and cape and sleek black hair. Watch if you dare, but remember this: you should always steer well clear of a vampire's kiss.
Thank you very much. Sorry about that blank moment there. It's good stuff, the Merlot in Ludlow, isn't it? We'll finish off with a song. I think we're safe doing this one to finish because it's about a villain in Lincolnshire.
Yeah.
And I don't think there's anybody from Lincolnshire here tonight. So we're probably quite safe. Oh God, we're not safe. Ian did tell me actually. It's a little story about a farmer's son, or a lad that worked on a farm in Epworth, which is about 20 miles from Kirton in Lindsay, I think. He decided he was fed up with low wages and long hours, and he was going to go out on the highway as a robber, a footpad. He thought he would make far more money that way. But he wasn't the luckiest of lads, because the first person he tries to hold up turns out to be a highwayman. But he's a quick learner, as you'll tell from the song. And it features Julie on the horse's hooves.
This is my tapas salata. This is the tapas board and the salad bowls.
John worked for Mr. Parrell in
On
a farm out Epworth Way, a boy more blessed with brawn and brain, so folk round there would say, who discontented with his wages told his master by and by his luck along the great north road. As a footpad he would try, nay lad, nay lad, nay, that's not the way. You need all your wits about you if a life of crime's to pay. But heedless of this warning, with a stout club out he strode, where from Newark town to Grantham a fine gentleman soon rode. Boldly John reached for the bridle, but this man a pistol drew, and laughing loud said, listen well, and I'll teach you a trick or two, 'cause nay lad, nay lad, nay, that's not the way. You need all your wits about you if a life of crime's to pay. For I'm a seasoned highwayman of notoriety and fame. I can see you're but a fool, or else a novice at this game. First knock the man clean off his horse, then once his hands are tightly tied, relieve him of his riches, swiftly mount the horse and off you ride. Yea, lad, that's the way to make it pay. You need all your wits about you if you're going to win the day. For sound advice John thanked him, and on bidding him farewell, pointed out a nearby bridle path through the hedgerow parallel. A drier route by far, sir, which commands a pleasant view, and presently you'll reach a gap which leads the way back through. Then as the man rejoined the highway, young John practised all he'd learned, and so a richer lad by far, on horseback to the farm returned. Nay, sir, it was surely not the way, and with your kind permission here in your employ I'll stay. But to my credit 50 guineas and a handsome steed I've gained, all taken from a highwayman, not half as clever as he claimed. Thank you very much, everybody. Thank you.